Well, thank you for playing that last chord. I wondered if this service was going to begin on a minor chord, but it was just right. Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be back. It's good to see you all. I'm happy to say that I'm making just a swell recovery from this surgery. Elizabeth tells me I am a foot shorter in my intestines, but I'm up and walking again, and that is the full extent of my understanding. But I brought my personal physician here, who can answer any questions if you want to know, like the real medical details. But I'm feeling good. Brings to mind an old beloved story. The doctor said, "Well, sir, I've got good news and bad news." He said, "What's the bad news?" He said, "Well, I'm afraid that we've amputated the wrong leg." And he said, "Well, what's the good news?" He said, "Well, actually, the leg that we meant to amputate is doing much better." Welcome to this place which we make holy by our presence. These doors are open to all. Bring your brokenness and bring your power. Bring your fatigue, your early morning aches, and your energy. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, where the human is celebrated, where compassion is strength. Welcome to this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Now, please join me for the words of the chalice lighting. Would you like to light the chalice? No? All right. Connor, would you like to light the chalice? You can do the chalice extinguishing. Here, Connor, it's right over here. It's the two candles and the chalice. Please join me for the words of the chalice lighting. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. And our opening hymn is number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. This is the time in the service where we get to share our joys and sorrows, those things that are weighing on us, and also those things that excite us about this week past and this week to come. So please think about if there's something you'd like to share. And if you do, please come up and light a candle.
Thank you. Oh, no, it didn't go out. I'm lighting a big candle of joy. It is amazing to see John back so soon after surgery. And as you know, of course, I lit a candle for Wally's speedy recovery from his stroke, but hey, this is for you too, the two of you, warriors. Yes.
This is for my joy of just having my sister and my dad in my life. And it's also a concern. I just am going through some health problems. And I just get down on myself because I don't like dealing with it. So I guess I just wish I could just take it away. I just don't like some of the takes that makes me look, but I'm just hopeful. Okay, this is a candle of joy. My first week at La Salle went pretty well this past week. Yes, the students can be a little challenging. I think they're just getting used to me. They did have 2 other teachers before they had me. So it's going to be an adjustment period. So hopefully soon we can become a classroom community where we are very respectful to one another, because right now we definitely are testing the water. So, but regardless, I love my job as a teacher, and I wouldn't want to have any other job. And it's all because of the students, obviously, because there's a lot of other behind the scene things that are not always amazing in the teaching. But the students always make it, regardless of the behaviors or whatnot. So that's why it's a candle of joy.
I have not been a frequent visitor to this microphone. Today's different. 3 Sundays ago, I found myself unexpectedly facing a new adventure. and at times a decidedly unpleasant one. Now, it's a given and it's a perception in our society that men can handle anything. They're tough, they can take adversity in stride. Well, in the midst of this adventure, I found myself unable to take any strides. Now, we probably all come to the acceptance that hospitals are not a good place to be at any time, and at holiday times, they're even worse. So from the 4 days before Christmas and 3 days after, at Buffalo General, I found they were short beds, short rooms, short of nurses. The one thing they weren't short of was sick people. But through all of that, there was one constant, and that was Kathy. She advocated for me when I was unable to advocate for myself. She was politely persistent in getting the nurses to give me the kind of care she felt I deserved and that I wasn't getting. So when people light a candle of joy, joy isn't the appropriate word for me. I want to light a candle as a tribute to Kathy. I'm most fortunate to have her as at my side.
For those joys and sorrows that we are still holding inside. And now's the time when we share our gifts for the work of this church. As I recover from surgery, I've been thinking about faith healing, Or really, since the surgical scar was covered by this giant bandage for 2 weeks, I thought a lot about faith scratching, since my belly got really itchy and I couldn't get to it. And I wondered, how hard would I have to believe for an angel to just go in there and scratch a little bit for me? We may have mixed feelings about faith healing here, but before we totally dismiss it, let's remember that the high priests of medicine, in their long white vestments, have also been known to practice faith-based medicine. Here I'm referring to what's known as the placebo effect, in which a doctor gives someone a pill, says that it will make them feel better, it works, and then the pill turns out to be nothing but cornstarch. But it's not some prank. A patient can actually undergo chemical changes in their organs. We may think of the placebo effect. Matter of fact, there's something that's even better than the placebo effect, and you wouldn't believe it. The clown intervention effect, medical clown intervention, I learned this semester, can reduce a child's hospital stay by 40%. I mean, you know, medical studies have shown. That's MCI, medical clown intervention. We may think of the placebo effect as a deception of the brain, which implies that the patient is simplistic. But I'm not so sure that faith resides in the brain. If it was, faith would be easily toppled by logical argument and scientific evidence. The faith that responds to laying on of hands, but is immune to a biology lecture, is likely somewhere kind of further down, just somewhere in our guts, somewhere in our pre-verbal area. Spiritual healing can even occur in cases where the patient has no faith and the healer is dead. The Old Testament reports that the prophet Elisha's cadaver still had some magic in it. In the Bible, in the second book of Kings, we read, "And Elisha died, and they buried him. And the bands of Moabites invaded the land at the coming in of the year. And it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that behold, they spied a band of men, and they cast the man into the grave of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood on his feet." In this case, neither the Moabites nor the dead man had any faith in Elisha's bones, but they healed him nonetheless. And there is a long Christian tradition of relics, bones of dead saints that retain beneficial magic. For example, I recently learned of Saint Fiacre, the patron saint of proctology. This 7th century Frenchman was offered whatever amount of land he could dig in one day without a shovel. He picked up a stick and instantaneously dug a prodigious trench, but while doing so, he got a hernia. So he sat on a stone, which immediately started to melt in the shape of his body to make him more comfortable. Then pilgrims traveled from far and wide seeking cures for their hernias, hemorrhoids, dysentery, kidney stones, and various other ailments of the lower end. Not only did he heal these in his lifetime, but his remains continued to do so after his death. And the stone he sat upon, which retains the imprint of his posterior, is also said to still contain healing magic. In a proctology journal, I read, "To this day, the saint's intercession is considered effective in some circles. In the 1960s, a woman suffering from a tumor of the pylorus, as detected by an X-ray, was reported to have invoked Saint Fiacre with success. A later X-ray examination attested to the disappearance of the tumor." It may sound irrational to believe that a bone or bottom-printed stone could cure a disease. But here we should recall the famous witch Starhawk explaining sacred objects and spell casting. She wrote, "A spell is a symbolic act done in an altered state of consciousness in order to cause a desired change. To cast a spell," she writes, "is to project energy through a symbol. But the symbols are too often mistaken for the spell. It is merely a lens, an object of focus, a memory device, the thing that embodies our idea." She said, "Props may be useful, but it is the mind that works the magic." And here again, mind needn't necessarily mean the prefrontal cortex. Belief may reside somewhere in the subconscious or below. But the bone and stone will only be useful if the person believes strongly enough. One of the most fascinating faith healers in the world today is Bishop Nicholas of Myra, modern-day Turkey, also known as Saint Nick or Santa Claus. Santa Claus, whose 1,700-year-old bones are said to emit pleasant scented liquids with healing properties. In the 1600s, a hagiographer, somebody who writes biographies of saints, sifted through 9 centuries of writings about St. Nicholas's posthumous profusions and produced the following synthesis. He wrote, "Immediately after being buried, he began as a dispenser of the treasures of heaven to allow all to participate in its graces. As a sign of this, at the time, his body began to exude 2 precious streams, one of oil from his sacred head, the other of water from his venerable feet. And the blessed Beguine saw another stream of milk exude from his bones, all with a sweet fragrance and a benefit for every type of infirmity." That Nicholas could produce a trinity of fluids was considered extra miraculous in Christianity. But stiff-necked scoffers have devised alternate explanations. One theory is that his original sarcophagus in Turkey had holes in the lid and base so that scented oil could be poured over the cadaver and collected in bottles underneath. The drippings would then be considered a healing ointment, having made contact with the saint's cadaver. And this could have given rise to a belief that the oil emanated from the bones themselves. Then in the year of our Lord, 1087, tomb raiders were dispatched from Italy to steal the bones of St. Nicholas so that their city could boast the presence of these relics, attracting tourists to miraculously revitalize the local economy. Once he was interred in this sub-sea level catacomb, the bones continued to leak, but the nature of the liquid changed. The bones would sweat out clear water. This change may have given rise to reports that the bones could also produce both water and oil. Concerning the bit about milk, it was later discovered that Blessed Mary, the mystic Beguine, had never actually seen the bones herself. Nonetheless, word spread that the distinct fluids flowed from both ends of his coffin, and people continued to gather, receive, and even sell these fluids abroad. Some people sold harmless replicas. Others were deliberately dangerous. An Italian woman named Giulia Tofana got rich in the 1600s selling bottles of Santa Claus sap in Rome. But her concoction turned out to be arsenic, which is said to have claimed 500 or 600 victims before this serial killer was caught in 1659. Apparently, Tofana was not so much a murderer as an accomplice to women who wanted to separate from their husbands without a messy divorce. The fame of Santa's sacred drippings inspired a whole heavenly host of imitations. In a 17th century medical journal, the drippings of saints and martyrs were reported to put out the damaging inflammations of the body, or to feed the dying glimmer of vital spirits, or to wash away leprosy, or to stop outbursts of lunatics' spasms. These liquids could actually restore sanity. One doctor claimed that such substances had almost resuscitated the dead. Personally, I have to wonder if this may be the reason that Santa Claus is so in need of cookies and milk left out by faithful children, because he spends 364 days a year losing milk from his bones. Obviously, a man of his girth needs strong bones if he's going to lift that sack of toys or even stand up straight. I know it's probably not the best time for me to be making light of Saint Fiacre, since I did just undergo a surgical miracle. In my defense, I will say that I am standing here raising awareness about him and saying his name in a church, which must be worth something, even if it's a Unitarian church. But even Unitarians could use a miracle every now and then. Thank you. Our next song is listed in the leaflet.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard nights. Sing like the angels. If you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard nights.
Do you have any announcements today? Check. I'm excited to announce that today at noon, I'll be teaching a short session about some of the sayings of Jesus and their historical context. I know that the Bills are playing at 1, so I will be mindful of that. But I think if we start at noon, we can have a good short lesson and still get you home in time for the game. Yes, that's right. Together we have sanctified this space. If you have found strength and comfort here, share some out there. Remember that you are blessed, and you are a blessing, and you are not alone. Please join me for the words of extinguishing the chalice. William, would you like to blow out the candle?
For a second, I thought that wasn't real fire.
That's all right. Nope, you can just blow out the candle. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I know I've done this before, but I just happen to like this song. Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there were clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile. Well, maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Allow a tear, maybe ever so near. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile. There's no use of crying.